Hey there, and welcome to this random ass playthrough of my Soul Level 1 run of Dark Souls 3. You know, just in case you couldn't read the title, now you know. So I only really have two goals for this playthrough. The first one being beat all the bosses, and the second one being actually, beat the game, which, yes, beating the game is the secondary objective, because I get to do whatever the hell I want, so that's how it's going to be. So right now I'm not doing much, I'm basically just scrolling through the tutorial, grabbing all the pointless stuff I can get my hands on, and also failing this parry absolutely miserably right there, just watch this. LMAO, what a scrub, right? So now you're probably thinking, well, these kinds of playthroughs exist all over the internet, so why the hell would I go ahead and bother watching this one? And the answer is, I don't know. But I do have one possible reason why you might want to, and that's because usually when you go for a Soul Level 1 run in these kinds of games, you're probably confident that you're actually, decent at it, at the very least. However, just in case you weren't aware, being decent at video games is not something we do around here. Exhibit A. So after failing miserably at my first attempt, I came back and wreaked my vengeance on this poor crystal lizard thingy, whatever it's supposed to be. Even though I still didn't really do all that well, but hey, at least he's dead and I get my pointless Titanite scale and also my pointless souls right over here. So now that was done, I made my way to the bonfire, taking the time to unequip my playing shield because I'm not going to be using it anyway. So here it is, the playthrough's first bonfire. What an accomplishment that is, and for it I get rewarded with the best thing ever, which is of course a gesture. So after that I went ahead and spooked this poor guy before proceeding on to murder this one, all in the name of some random firebombs, before climbing back up and taking the jump to get a Titanite shard, because I totally forgot what that was. And also there I went ahead and had a pretty lousy fight with these two hollows. Yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. So now it's time to go ahead and fight Gundyr, and we're gonna start with a cool war cry before pulling out the sword. There we go, so now it's time to take your cheap shots before the fight starts for free damage. See if you can guess what I'm gonna do. Fail a parry, of course, because it's way funnier if you fail. But I'm gonna go ahead this time and actually succeed for once. So here's a cool crit. Oh yeah, that feels good and stuff. One more whack, almost get stabbed, and get another parry. For one more crit, and there you go. So I wanted to get another one, being the greedy bastard I am, but he decided to go ahead and change to phase 2, so instead I just resorted to whacking him silly instead. Another war cry, because why the hell not? Like it matters, but it's not important. Dodge the hand and smack him silly. And there you go. That's Gundyr down. And there I decided I would go ahead and take the door before changing my mind to go ahead and go for the bonfire instead. Amber restored, thank you. So after Gundyr's death, we're gonna go ahead and open this slow ass door immediately afterwards. Behind which lies the most essential item to this entire run. Yes. Random gesture. Afterwards we're gonna head on ahead and pick up the homeward bone and then finally push this poor hollow down into the depths of hell. Poor buddy. After this it's time to face the first dog of the playthrough, which I'm gonna take my time to whack and then fail miserably at whacking him again before doing so properly to go ahead and claim the amber that lies behind him. Before I head into Firelink Shrine, however, I'm gonna take a small detour to commit wanton murder against some poor sleeping fools. Because, you know what? Genocidal maniac is what I am. And just in case you weren't aware that I was bad at the game, I'm just going to totally flub everything up over here and almost die. After this I also went ahead and picked up the east-west shield and the amber that was just right there at the beginning, and I'm also going to pick up this homeward bone, except I totally cut out the footage by accident. Whoops. After this we're gonna head into Firelink Shrine properly for the very first time. Go ahead and stab the sword right there. Pay no attention to Miss Firekeeper because we won't be needing her around here. So then we're gonna go ahead talk to Mr. Awkward for the collapse emote, which is obviously very important that you do so. Otherwise the run is forfeit right there, and we're gonna give it a quick test. Works as it should, so I'm gonna go ahead try to see this NPC over here only to realize that he's not here and I'm a doofus. Now it's time to take a quick trip to the Shrine Maiden to buy some stuff, including a dagger for later, some armor, because I suck, a talisman, after much hesitation, and of course a couple embers, only to realize I can only take one, so I decide to sell my souls in the hopes of buying all three. But it doesn't work out and I can only get two of them, so oh well. I leave dejected. Now that I'm done with my impulsive spending, I'm gonna go ahead and equip all of my armor. Take my time doing so. And now that I look completely silly, it's time to go ahead and talk to Andre so I can mess around with my Estus, which is very important. So next I take a quick break at the bonfire before unequipping my fire bombs, and also more importantly going ahead and setting up for the tree jump. There's the tree right there, just in case you weren't aware. Make sure to point it for all of you. And then I'm gonna fail on my first attempt, because of course. Gonna give it a second go and fail as well. And third attempt is not even an attempt, it's just pathetic. And finally, third time's the charm, I get up there and claim my homeward bones. Circling around for a quick trip to Mr. Crystal Lizard. Thank you for the Twinkling Titanite, which I will not care. It's time to go and pick up the Estus shard as well as drop some stuff for Mr. Crow thingy, whatever it is. I leave one firebomb and one black firebomb, which I chose as my gift to make things more convenient, for which I pick up a Titanite chunk and a large Titanite shard, which will come in handy later. Going ahead and rolling into the invisible wall will cause it to disintegrate, allowing me to pass through, behind which lies a chest which I will open to get myself a Silver Serpent Ring, which I totally did not forget to equip, I just did not do it on purpose, of course. So now I go back and see Andre again to reinforce my Estus with the Estus shard, which took longer than it should have because I needed to get my bearings for some reason. And then I go ahead and take a quick break by the bonfire. Very important. Now that I'm sufficiently rested, I went back to attempt a fight against the Swordmaster, but first things first, I take out those two guys to ensure they don't bother me while I'm doing so. So now it's time to go ahead and get absolutely slaughtered. Just kidding, I'm a god. In all seriousness though, after the parry, the fight was kinda up and down. I went ahead and got hit there. Then I tried to go for a jump attack, which resulted in getting hit once more. Somehow I managed to live with probably 2 HP, but I cower in the corner and use my Estus to bring it back to full health. One good whack, a random kick, of course, and 2 more good whacks will allow me to actually get some damage in for real. A few more whacks and now the fight is looking actually not too bad. So I went ahead, got another war cry and used a jump attack, followed by a few whacks. And then it's time for the best thing, another kick, 2 more whacks, but just in case you thought the fight was over, I'm gonna go ahead and give him another kick just for funsies. And now I'm gonna use a charge attack, which, other than looking absolutely ridiculous, also gave me a panic attack because I wasn't sure if it was actually gonna work or not, but thankfully it did. Use another collapse emote because I felt like it and grab all this stuff. So using the souls I gained from the Swordmaster, I take another visit to the Shrine Handmaid to purchase my last ember. And now that I'm done fooling in the tutorial area, finally, I'm gonna equip my fire bombs and rest at the bonfire so I can finally reach the first true area of the game, which is the High Wall of Lothric. Of course, the first thing to do is to open the door, which, since this is a Souls game, has to take forever to do so. But it does give you a good view, which I immediately ruined by turning the camera towards the floor. So take the first bonfire and we're ready to set off. So of course I begin by taking the right path, where this crossbow wielding hollow awaits me, so I kill him before he gets to be a nuisance later on. and finally start my journey towards dropping down to this great axe wielding dude, except it turns out I can actually hear the dog, so I decide I'm going to take him out first. But then he decides to just step on my face and fall down, and since I'm too much of a coward to fight him and the axe wielding dude at the same time, I wait for him to come back up so we can land back here. And he decides to just leave me again. So after waiting for some more time, he comes back, and I finally get my first hit, which knocks him back down, of course. Waiting an ungodly long amount of time again, he finally manages to come back, and I managed to actually kill him this time around. Now I decide it's time, and fail a plunging attack miserably, which somehow results in him missing me. And then it's just a matter of giving him a few good whacks, dodging the very easy to dodge axe hit, and finally finishing him off. Now it's time to kill this poor guy who was just trying to have a quick rest, but somehow killing him grants me his longsword, which is actually very cool. So while I'm waiting for the enemies to shuffle around upstairs, I decide I might as well check to see if it's better, only to realize that yeah, it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and equip it. And after waiting way too long, which I have skipped, I go ahead and hit the wall to grab the dog's attention, fumble with the camera before killing him, which is very useful. And now I move on to kill their halberd wielding dude. A few good sword swings, and finally, just to show off, yeah, of course. Now that I'm done with them, heading upstairs allows me to encounter a very, very enjoyable enemy. None of this crossbow wielding guy. I'm talking about the Fuss of Man, of course. So the fight boils down to chuck a firebomb, hit him a couple of times before running away to ensure that you don't get mauled to death by whatever this thing is supposed to be. An additional firebomb to send him and get a few more hits. Of course, run away once more. Take your time, and finally, one more firebomb, and two good sword swings later, he goes down. And for this, I collect my bow, which I will not use, and my Titanite Shard and Ember. Are those edits funny yet? Well, now that I'm done all the way over there, I can take the actual way to progression, get hit by this dude twice, because I totally forgot he existed actually, before he rudely swung his sword in my face. Kill this guy with a jump attack to prevent him from causing any more damage. And get my souls, of course. Also a Nestus Chug, which is very important. And kill this guy, because he actually does come alive if you don't kill him there. He's actually already alive, but you know what I mean. Also kill this guy. He's just as bad as the other one, except probably even worse. Drag this poor guy out of his hiding spot. Kill this guy. Poor him, he was just trying to sleep, and get my pointless binoculars. After this, I go and drop down the sledge to pick up the golden pine resin that sits right over here. It's gonna be very useful later on, as you'll see. Take the time to brutalize these poor guys, just so that they don't decide to come and backstab me later on. Also, fail a parry against him, very important, because if you don't, once again, the run is forfeit. But then you can go ahead and actually kill. Afterwards, you go ahead and pick up the two fire bombs, which do come in handy occasionally. Drop on this platform and drop down to the bottom of the staircase, and pick up your souls. It's very important. Afterwards, it's time to have a very sloppy fight with this guy. Remember, I did say sloppy. I'm also gonna finish him off, just because otherwise he's going to be making some noise and that's going to bother me. He also drops me his pants and a couple of bolts, which are not very useful, but it doesn't matter. Trigger the dragon, because I couldn't be bothered to fight all these guys, then just let the dragon roast them all. There's a lot of stuff to pick up there, but I really didn't want to bother, because it's kind of a pain in the ass. So instead I just move on, realize that this guy is alive somehow, and proceed to have fun watching him get burned to crisp. Haha. Time for the run's first mimic, which I'm going to start off the fight by giving him two good whacks. Dodge the grab attack, and afterwards the fight is basically over. You just have to dodge the grabs whenever they come. They're very easy to see coming. And aside from the grabs, you can pretty much just stay right in its crotch and you'll never get hit by anything else. Charge attack to finish it off. Falls to the ground and gives me the deep battle axe, which I decide to think about using. So I go ahead, take a look at the stats, only to think, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Equip it and realize that I have to two-hand it because I don't have enough strength, which means I won't be able to make effective parries, so whoops. So now I'm almost at the second bonfire of the stage, but before I do that, I'm gonna take some time off of my day to kill those guys, just to make sure that they don't come and bother me later on. Wait for the night to go, because I don't want him to notice me and suddenly starts to pick a fight with me, grab the Soul of a Deserted Corpse, which is kind of just there, and it also doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but oh well. This guy dodges my attack like some kind of god, but he still ends up dying anyways. Go ahead and pick up the firebomb, and finally time to reach another bonfire. And there it is, pristine as always. Now that the bonfire is lit, I'm gonna pick up this Titanite shard right here before heading back down in order to face the Lothric Knight. As you can see, I've unequipped my sword. I bet you can already tell where this is going. Yeah, I failed miserably, as I do at everything else in life. This time I don't work up the courage to actually do so, but I do this time only to get stabbed in the face before getting shield bash and almost dying. So I scramble to get a heal in, end up getting stabbed for it, so run away and get another heal in, and finally get a parry, except it's, well, it's kind of a successful parry, but at the same time I also got hit, so it's kind of whack. Take another Estus, get stabbed for it, somehow avoid getting hit there, and get another parry. And he goes down just like that. But I wasn't really satisfied with my performance, so I went back to the bonfire and stayed there just so I could give it a second attempt. Let the knight leave to do his business so I can fight this guy without any problems. The fight is fine, then I go ahead and kill those 3 guys as well, just to make sure. Except while I'm doing so, the guy down there hears what's going on and he decides to come and check it out. So as I get ready to fight the knight, this guy decides to make his way over here, and because I'm too much of a coward to face him and the knight at the same time, I end up backing off so I can have a one-on-one fight with him before I decide to actually challenge the knight. And as you can see, he takes a sweet ass time trying to get to me, but he eventually does and falls like an idiot. So now it's time to actually fight the knight, and this fight is much better. So parry number 1 brings him to just about half health, and a charged attack, two-handed, and a regular attack will be the end of him. I take some time to look at my stats just to try and prove that I didn't get hit and resort to BM. Now that my ego has been satisfied, I decided to keep trucking along with the rest of the stage, where I realized this guy was just waiting for me to give him a good plunge attack. And then I moved on to kill this one as well so he doesn't bother me later on. Going out the door and turning right gives you a Soul of a Deserted Corpse, which I'll make use of eventually, I suppose. Then I went ahead and shot this guy straight into the abyss. One plunge attack, there we go, and a regular attack was enough to finish this guy off. Also, yeah, I had to kill them. So now that that was done, it was time to fight the second class of man of the stage. So I used Black Fireballs this time instead of the regular ones, just for more damage. But I kind of ended up getting a little greedy and got slapped around for it. One Estus, one roll attack later, and the fight was over, so no problem. I went ahead and claimed my reward, and then I could go take the time to kill this poor Titanite lizard with a jump attack and 2 regular attacks, which net me a raw gem, which is very important, and another large Soul of a Deserted Corpse. After dropping down the ladder, I went ahead and killed those 2 guys, just because I could, and also because I'd have to fight them later otherwise. There was actually 4 guys instead, because there's 2 of them that climb up from the railing. Got hit like some absolute doofus. This guy was just waiting for it, I don't know what he was doing. Got a broken straight sword, which I will definitely be using at some point. 3 more fire bombs, and the 3 black fire bombs later. And it was time to head into this little prison cell, I don't know what it is. stab this guy and kill this one that comes after you. Head over there to realize I totally forgot about this guy, where I started to panic and roll around like a madman before slashing him to death. Get another Titanite shard, and afterwards I moved on to spot the knight, which kind of caused me to freak out a little. One big charge attack to break everything in sight and claim my undead unto charms. It was then time for the epic duel against the second Lothric Knight, the first one with the lance that we've seen so far. I was trying to go for a backstab on him, but he kind of smacked me with his shield there, but I didn't manage my backstab anyway. One more charge attack and 2 light attacks later was good enough. I took this opportunity to break the tables and claim my Soul of a Deserted Corpse. Moving on, I tried to charge attack this guy, but I messed up terribly and I actually got stabbed for it. But anyway, I killed him and I went inside and claimed what is one of the most important part of the run, the broadsword, which is the weapon I'll be using for a good chunk of the run, but it's not the only one I'll be using. Heading down into the great big room lets me punch this guy in the face and also backstab this one, and pick up the Silver Eagle Kite Shield, which, well, is a shield that exists, but I probably will not be using it. So I then took the time to survey the area, where I noticed this halberd wielding guy was coming up the stairs, so I threw a firebomb at the barrels next to it, and he kind of blew up. I tried to blow up the dog as well, but it didn't work, so I resorted to just chucking the bomb straight at him instead, setting him on fire, and eventually killing him. So I waited a bit longer, but they didn't seem interested in coming to me or anything, so I went down and chucked a firebomb at this guy as well, just so I could kill him, and then I totally flexed on this poor fool. Get the crit, and I tried to finish him off with a charge attack, as I always do, and I kind of got this weird ass charge attack. I tried to parry this one as well, but as you can see I failed miserably, like I usually do. I backed myself into a corner, rolled, got hit again, and healed myself one more time before actually proceeding to succeed at the whole parry thing. Now that they were all gone, it was time to go ahead and claim my rewards, starting of course with the Estus shard. Then I headed downstairs and punched this dog in the face to get the cell key. Broke these barrels and boxes to get the Titanite shard. Heading back up and rolling through all this stuff allows you to proceed onward and claim the rewards at the end, which include, but is not limited to, 3 green blossoms, 2 of them actually, I cannot read, and also this chest which contains the Astora straight sword. After that, it was time to proceed on with the rest of the stage, where I started by climbing down this ladder and whacking both of the guys that are around here. No problem whatsoever. And then it's time for the big fat guy, is what his name is. But before I actually go on and fight him though, I'm gonna take a detour down this little hole, beat up this one because I don't want him to bother me later on, and then pick up the random rapier, which is not a weapon I'm going to be using, as well as an ember, and of course, another ember. And then it's time to actually fight the big fat guy, and I was trying to go for a backstab there, but I kind of just wound up getting hit like some doofus. But eventually I did get my backstab, and I also managed to roll away and fall into the hole again, where I started scrambling to find the exit out of there, while the big fat guy just stood there and took the fire damage to the face, which wasn't part of the plan, but I wasn't gonna complain. And then he tries to do his holy beam attack to me, but I just get a backstab and finish it off with a charge attack. So moving on with the rest of the area, I take the right out of the door to beat up this archer, as well as this other guy comes running towards me. Get a couple of bolts, which is cool, but not very useful. And I also went and picked up the Soul of a Deserted Corpse, after which I climbed up the stairs, got another Soul of a Deserted Corpse, and jumped down here to get the sacrifice ring, which will probably end up being sacrificed later on. Now that that was done, I headed on over towards the shortcut that leads you back straight to the beginning of the area. Did a nice triple kill around here and beat up this one. I headed back towards the door where I came from in order to pick up the green blossoms before heading on to the elevator proper, grabbing the throwing knife that's behind it, and of course opening the door to the shortcut, where I then headed back up to the bonfire. So while I'm at the bonfire, I'm gonna take this opportunity to go back to Firelink Shrine, talk to Andre to increase my Estus, as well as reinforce my weapon up to +2, and give it the raw modifier. Gordon Ramsay would be proud of me, I think. There you go, now I have a better weapon, and I'm all set to head back to the stage and go on to fight the boss now. But before that I have to parry this Lothric Knight, just because I can. And also murder this one with a stance, and a poke to the face, which is also very important. Another stance, and one extra attack. Afterwards I talk to Emma to get the banner, and the Way of Blue. Now that I've skipped all of her dialogue, like the antisocial introvert that I am, it was time to fight the Blue Lothric Knight, where I got outplayed. But I came back to get my vengeance, and I got outplayed again. So that was kind of funny. And then I came back next time, and after a couple of parries and a few regular attacks, he went down, and I was rewarded with my pointless refined gem. So now all that was left was killing the knight on the other side, which was done with a parry obviously, and picking up the random resound, which is not a weapon I'm gonna use. And finally kill the archers and the two lance-wielding guys straight in front of the boss, and it was time to go ahead and fight the actual boss now. So the Vort fight actually went pretty well. So as you can see, I start off with the Golden Pine Resin to add extra lightning damage to my sword. And then I just kind of go in his hurt box, because when you're there he can't really hit you with anything, and I just start whacking away like a madman. And you can see there he goes phase 2 immediately, and a couple of whacks is good enough to basically put him down to 25% health or something like that. So after dodging the 3 charges, I just go under him and hit him 4 more times for the kill. So a fight that took roughly 35-ish seconds, so pretty easy I must say. And then I went ahead and claimed my bonfire as well as my ember, which is given to me for free. But I wasn't done with the level quite yet, so I traveled back to the second bonfire and headed down here to fight this guy, where I messed up a parry like an idiot. And I also went ahead and messed up the second one. But eventually, after messing around, I got tired of waiting around for a parry because I knew I wasn't going to get it, so I just took every backstab opportunity. Also, there has never been and never will be a hollow throwing firebombs around here. Thank you. Kill this guy on the other side of the door and pick up the Mailbreaker, which is a dagger, which I don't care about. And finally save Grey Rat and skip all of his dialogue, of course. Get the blue Tearstone ring from him, buy a couple of purple moss clumps from the shrine handmaid, and go see Grey Rat to buy some embers as well as some armor, which I will probably not be using, but fashion is important. However, as you can see, we're still not done, so I teleport back to Vort's bonfire, where I then start to head up the stairs. And can you guess what I'm going to do? If you can't, well, you'll see in a second. So run past the knights first, make sure you let the guy with the spears poke you at least once, and start the dancer fight, of course. So I'm not gonna bore you with the entire fight. All you need to know is that attempt 1 was less than ideal. As for attempt 2, it went a whole lot better. But not really. And attempt 3 is actually going pretty well, even though I am out of Estus. But I did manage to get her to about halfway, and as you can see, she enters phase 2 where she starts spinning, so I stay behind her butt and I die. Which is not how I'd expected it to go, and then she just slowly turns around without moving. And I think that's about where I'm gonna end the video, because I've done basically the first 2 areas, so thank you for watching this admittedly very mediocre video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, cool. If you didn't, well, sorry, I tried my best. And I'll see you in part 2 whenever it comes out one day. Hopefully. Bye!